Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we proudly present our spectacular show of podcast magic and imagination full of Disney wonder, news, and pop culture. It's the Main Street Electrical Podcast with Jenn Dave and David Dollar.
Hey, Kyla.
Hello, David.
Welcome to the Main Street Electrical Podcast. And I'm not even going to give you... Oh, there you go. Yes, there you go. And I stepped all over it. It's my assumption.
Tiny one. A little tiny guy.
So Kyla and
I
are here together once again, as you have been frequently on the show, as our third co-host on the show here, as Jenn is once again traveling. She's on the Utopia of the Seas, by the way, one of the largest ships in the world. It's not quite as big as the Icon. I want to say it's like 1 or 2 categories down. It's still a very large ship, but that's a brand new ship that's being released, I guess, to the world in like a couple of weeks. But she's on a preview sailing. We're doing that. She just got done with a couple of days at Disney, and now she's in the Utopia. And I think then she comes home for a couple of weeks, maybe. I don't know.
She has a conference. There's a conference right after Utopia, so she's
that's
driving
right.
to it.
That's right.
And Utopia looks super fun, by the way.
Oh, it does.
Like,
it really does. It's really
like
cool.
we know I'm a Disney cruise person or a Disney person at heart, but the Utopia actually Royal, you did a good job.
Well, I mean, I've quoted I think 4 or 5 Royal Caribbean trips in the last couple of days. People are asking about Royal, or hey, we've done Disney, want to do something else, and when I can't talk them into it, we go Royal. But and now I'm kind of familiar with, like, I'm looking, going, ooh, that one's Grandeur of the Sea. That tiny ship, you don't want that one. We want this one, the Adventure of the Sea. Not quite as big. Ooh, the Freedom. We can handle the Freedom. Oh, the Utopia, even better. So going through some of the ships and stuff, giving out options and everything. But yeah, she went on this. She's like on this 12-day adventure where it's like Disney and then Utopia and then a conference, just like back to back to back. And I know.
Then I think she's home. Then
she's home for like a month or so. I mean, it's crazy. We'll have her on for like 4 straight episodes. It'll be great.
And then I'll be back.
And then you'll be back. And so then we'll have you on with Jen, and we'll just come filling in. And so we're going to talk a little bit today about single parenting, which is something that Jen can't really do. Although when she's on a trip with the whole team, it almost is like single parenting because she has 28 little children running around and,
accurate,
yelling at each other and making mess of things and, eating and leaving snacks everywhere. But we'll get to that. Kyla, how did you use Disney this week?
I actually bought plane tickets for next month for my solo mom and me trip.
Nice.
Which I'm staying on the quiet side because the girls are watching a movie.
Very good. Very good. Well, that's because you've taken these trips before. This is like the however many annual trip, 4th one. Okay, that's awesome. Yeah. Do they not expect it at this point? Do you think they kind of talk to each other going, is mom going to take us? Well, I think, I'm not really sure. Maybe, I don't know.
Sophie is just very go with the flow type. Bella, on the other hand, was like, what weeks did you sign us up for camp in August? And I was like, none of them. Because I think she thought she was going to figure it out by what weeks they weren't going to camp. And I was like, actually, I decided to pain myself for the summer and not sign you up for camp at all. So they're not going to any camps in August. And she was like, oh. Because she can't figure it out if she's just home all 4 weeks. So
we have a guest here real quick. Campbell, say hi.
Say hi.
Can you stick it?
There he is. Hi, Campbell.
There you go. Now listen, we're going to talk about your trip in a little bit. You're not going to be here, but I do want you to tell the world, what is your favorite Disney ride?
Magic Kingdom.
Magic Kingdom. That's your park. Do you have a favorite ride? No, just all of them. Just all of them.
All of them. I agree.
Say hi. Who are we talking to?
Kyla.
That's Kyla. That's right.
Hi, Campbell.
All right, buddy. Go on down, and I'll be down in a little while. Okay, you and I'll go out. So, have you had a fun summer with the girls at home most of the summer?
Yeah, we have. They did a soccer camp at the local college. They did, a few days of the townie camp before I went to Disney. But Disney encompassed 10 days of it in the last couple of weeks. So other than that, it's been a great summer otherwise, though.
It's been a little crazy here at the house. He gets bored in the afternoons, and
how's yours going?
He goes to school. He goes to a summer school 3 days a week, which is over at 12. And then he comes home And sometimes we can mitigate and we can kind of whatever. But a lot of times, Steph works from home sometimes. She was just here, and I work from home as well. And we both have jobs to do, and yet we got to entertain the kid. And it's just been a little crazy. And just like now, he comes walking in, he's like, "What's up?" So I'm like, "I'm podcasting," and he's like, "Okay." God,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
he knows you.
don't mind the entire thing I have set up here on my desk right now.
Right.
Cool,
It
come
is
on
what it
in.
is. So Amazon is having Prime Day this week, yesterday and today. It's basically a whole lot of stuff on sale and things like that. And there's a lot of Disney Legos on sale, which is awesome. A lot of Star Wars
What did
Legos
you
on
get?
sale, which is awesome. I did manage to purchase. So I should have brought it with me. They have little sets called Brickheads, and they're kind of like they're sort of like Disney figures, but they're kind of an odd shape. And so I picked up a Maribel brickhead, and I picked up a Groot brickhead. Oh! I'm about to see a brickhead. Are you about to show me one? You know exactly what I'm talking about? Snow
Can we
White.
see this?
I have
No,
that
it's
one.
Belle.
It's Belle. I don't have that one. It was foggy. It was foggy in the camera. I don't have that one. That's awesome.
Yeah, I have my little Belle one.
That's awesome. I picked up a couple of brickheads for the cheap, and I also found a Stitch brickhead, which is very hard to find right now. And I actually have one. I picked it up for some friends of ours because their daughter is a Stitch nut, and so I picked it up for them. But yeah, that's been my thing is just Legos, and of course I have Legos just piled up everywhere. I have now, I counted last night, 19 sets that are unbuilt because I buy them on sale
Unbuilt?
unbuilt, and they're in boxes. I buy them on sale or in clearance, but I don't have time to get to them because I'm dealing with our kid in the afternoons, and I'm having to answer your questions about multipass, which is crazy, and it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing.
What do we call these things?
Let's talk about a little news.
Epcot Terrans. Does anyone know what they call themselves?
I am very serious
things?
about this. So Country Bears opened today, the 17th. I don't know. Were you able to see any kind of early showing when you went?
No.
Country Bears.
And I looked, but there was nothing going on.
It looks cool. I want to see it. I probably will hop on YouTube and watch the entire show because that's what I do. I spoil things for myself. And so I will get on there and see the whole thing. Yeah, I want to see.
Wait till December.
No.
And then it'll make all of us sit in the front row as usual, and we'll all watch it together.
What if we got in there and it's a Planet Earth movie? Yeah, Kyla and I have seen the Planet Earth movie a couple times together. Like the only 2 times we've ever seen it was with Kyla. Once we were the only ones in the entire theater.
In the front row.
In the front row. And no, at that time we weren't in the front row. We sat somewhere in the middle, but the cast member walked over to us and was like, "Yeah, so I have to give you this spiel. I have to. So no eating, drinking, smoking, blah, 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 blah."
So funny. We're so funny.
Way back in the day, we are. Disneyland's 69th birthday today, opened on July 17th, 1955. And of course, there's so much legend and lore. We could have done an entire episode about the opening of Disneyland, but the main points is today was supposed to be a press day. And so they were going to invite the press, the international press, to come in. Very low crowd because they still had things to do. They were still laying asphalt down and the plumbing wasn't even fixed and whatever. And apparently there was a whole lot of counterfeit tickets that were sold. So for a park that was supposed to hold like 4,000 or 5,000 people, 20,000 people were in the parks that day. They were climbing. There were people that they were putting ladders up against the walls, charging people a couple of dollars to climb the ladder over, not Disney people, just people with an entrepreneurial spirit and a ladder. People were climbing over to get in. And of course, at one point in time, they had to decide between running bathrooms and running water. They had to make that choice there. Lady High Heels were getting stuck in the asphalt as we were walking across. Half the ride shut down.
Reading that. Yes.
It was insane. But by the next couple of days, everything was working perfectly. It was perfect. So
it would have been awesome to be there. Also, can we kind of bring back like the nostalgic of women dressing up for the parks?
That would be great.
Like Dapper Days all the time. Like, and maybe not in the bloody heat of summer, but they all looked like so like elegant and dainty on the teacups and their like little dresses and heels, and like
and as the
matching
team,
purses.
We could all go visit the lingerie shop that was on Main Street, and that was fun. Of course, they had showgirls dancing, which there's a picture on my Disney page. I posted a bunch of pictures, retro pictures from opening day, and there's like showgirls in their costumes sitting, having a little cup of Coke or Pepsi or whatever they're drinking there at the table, and
fun.
And so yeah, I mean everything a little bit different. Everything's changed, but it's still got nostalgia to it. Of course, Walt's light is still in the Walt's apartment. If you've never been to Walt's apartment, you can do the Walking with Walt tour in at Disneyland. It's couple hours. It's a guided tour with a whatever sound piece they put in your ear and they talk to
Oh, it
you
was
through
a
that.
guide.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what the term for it was. Sound piece, earpiece, whatever. I didn't want to say cassette. It was it's like a little Walkman, whatever. MP3 player. I don't know.
Speaking of vintage.
Exactly. So, but at the end of it, they take you up into Walt's apartment and you get to walk around and see. And just about everything in there, including the carpet, has been replaced. But there are still a few original items in there, like a few original appliances that you probably do not want to plug in because that would be disastrous. But it's great to go in there and be in there. They get your picture. You're not allowed to take pictures in there, but they will take your picture for you. But it's really cool. So make sure you do that if you ever have a chance. Next week, July 24th is the big day. Genie Plus goes by as multi-pass and single pass kicks in. We've talked about this a little bit in the last couple of weeks, kind of gone over it, but just a real quick reminder: multi-pass is formerly the Genie service, Genie Plus service. Purchase for one theme park per day. Choose up to 3 experiences and times in one theme park ahead of your visit. After you use your first one, you can actually get us next one, the next one. So you can actually have 3 all day, like building and building and building. For people who are on site on-site guests, including Shades of Green and Swan and Dolphin. You can do this 7 days ahead of your trip. For people who are off property at all the other Disney hotel stuff off property, 3 days before your trip. The single pass, which is also called the individual lightning lane. I don't even know if there was like 4 terms for that at some point.
What do we call these things?
But this is the single pass, not the day pass, but the single pass. Purchase up to 2 selections per day in advance for some of our most highly demanded attractions, including Guardians of the Galaxy and Tron Light Cycle Run. I think Rise of the Resistance and Seven Dwarfs Mine Train will also be included in that. And you can choose the times ahead of your visit. So theoretically, for your Magic Kingdom day, you could have Tron purchased for 12 o'clock. You could have Seven Dwarfs Mine Train purchased for 3 o'clock. You could also have lined up for you Peter Pan, Jungle Cruise, and Space Mountain all ready to go. Of course, there are tier systems in place where you pick 1 from this one and pick 2 from the rest. For 3 parks, Animal Kingdom it's a free for all. Just pick 3 of them out of the whole list. My suggestion to you: Flight of Passage. It's not included. You either do standby or you pay for it.
So it's it is okay. So
yes,
it's
and
not,
Seven Dwarfs Mine
extra.
Train is the same thing, and I think Rides is the same thing. You can't choose it. You either pay for it or you just do standby for those attractions.
So
Tron,
are you are you not surprised that Tiana's didn't go to a pay ride and Seven Dwarfs was taken off?
No, I'm not, because I think first of all, Tiana's queue is massive. It's so long.
True.
And I think there's so much going on with the virtual queue. They didn't want to deal with a virtual queue at this point. So I think it is virtual queue now, but I don't think it's gonna be there for very long. I think they probably want to see how standby goes. If standby is just insane, they may go to a lightning lane system or something. I don't know with it. Seven Dwarfs Mine Train is just so popular all the time, and they can make money off of it. So I think that's why they're keeping it. Because usually it's like it's that like $11 or $12 price where it's more than you want to pay, but at the same time you're like, it's only $11. Let's just go ahead and pay it and be done. And meanwhile you just paid $95 for Tron, and you've already paid $97 for Guardians. Yeah, it's insane. It's ridiculous. So that's really all the news we have. But not a whole lot of news going on. It's that dead of summer, which is not a lot's happening right now. A little crazy. But we want to talk about solo trips. We want to talk about those parenting trips that you take just with the kids by yourself. Now, Kyla, as we talked about before, you have been on multiple trips like these, and you go on these every year, around the end of summer, midsummer, whatever. You take the girls. You have 2 daughters, and they are ages.
Bella turned 11 on July 4th, and Sophie is 7.
So you've been doing this since they were like 3 and 7. So now they're 7 and 11. This is your 4th year in a row.
This is my 4th year. So Sophie was 4.
Okay, 4.
Okay. Yes, yeah. I'll just tell you how I happened to do it the first time. Like, I literally decided like 4 weeks before the first time, and I announced to Frank that I was going to do a mom and me trip, and he just, in his Frank way, was like, "Whatever floats your boat, buddy."
I can really picture him saying that. "Whatever floats your boat, buddy. Everything's coming up, Frank."
Yep. So, I just picked a random week in August because August is a little quieter. The Florida kids are back in school. It hasn't, like, the holiday stuff, while it has started in August the past few years, it's not really ramped up at all. So I booked a month out and booked our flights. And I will say that the day of that very first time, so again, the girls were like 4 and 8. It was slightly daunting because I'm like, what am I doing? Like, what? um, excuse me. And at the time, I had a double stroller. Um, Bella, maybe Sophie was 3. I don't know. I don't. She was 3 or 4
I
because
was
Bella
doing the
was
math. You said 7. This is your fourth
I
year in a
know,
row,
and
so
I'm
I was
like,
like just kind of doing the Common Core to get to 3, but could be wrong about that.
"Is this my 5th year? I don't know. No, I thought this was my 4th year." I don't know. The viewers are like, "Oh my god." So I had a double stroller, and I thought the last time that we used a double stroller with Bella, she was 7, so maybe Sophie was 3. I don't
Right.
know. But I had the double. I stayed at the Art of Animation because I thought they'd love the Little Mermaid room, which is the standard room there if you don't have a
Mhm.
suite. And we had a great time. It was fantastic, and I was absolutely exhausted. But that just kind of goes along with the territory of a mom and me trip.
Right.
As I'm sure you know, after
Right.
your first dad and me trip
Yes.
last month,
Yep.
and it was fantastic. And then I decided to do it every August.
I love that. I love it. Well, and I've mentioned this before, just kind of bits and pieces in passing, but we'll actually be able to talk about full trips here today. Like my wife takes a trip every summer with her sister and her parents. Her parents are getting older; they're in their 70s, and to spend time with them before they get to the point where they can't. They wanted to go somewhere hiking. They wanted to go to they visited theme park, not theme parks, national parks, around the country. They've gone to Yellowstone. They've gone up to Washington. This year they went to Acadia. They've done this. This might be the 4th year in a row they've done it. And every year they're gone for, 8 to 10 days, which is fine. The kid's at home. And of course, for those who don't know, my kid is special needs. He's autistic and he's 12 years old. And he's mostly nonverbal. He communicates in short words here and there. If you heard him earlier on the microphone, that's pretty much his conversation. He will just voice in small words, but he can communicate here and there. Usually we're just at home. We're just at home for 8 days, 10 days, just me and him kind of hanging out. And this year I decided, what if I took him to Disney World just for the weekend, maybe go down on a Thursday and come back like on a Monday. Just, because typically when we go on trips, it's usually my wife and I, sometimes her parents go, make it a, 4 summer or 5 summer, whatever. We have a medical stroller for him because not that he needs the stroller in terms of ability to walk, but because he does get anxious in the line. He does, and it's easier for us to keep him kind of there, kind of together. But I was like, well, you know what? And we always fly. We always fly, like I think you guys do as well. I think have you driven?
Yes.
Have you driven before down?
Not on solo trips. We
Okay.
we used to on our first
Mhm.
couple trips, and then we turned the girls into schnapps, and
Mhm.
they prefer to fly instead of drive now because they just want to get
Yes, I understand.
there.
I understand. So we drove. We drove. It's about 9 hours from here, 9.5 hours. Although with a kid, it's more like 10.5 to 11 hours. But we drove. We
Add in
decided
a
to
few
drive
pit
down.
stops.
Well, it's one of those kind of things where I told my beloved wife Stephanie what we're gonna do. I had already had the plan in place, and then I brought it up to her like, "Hey, I think I'm gonna do this," and she's like, "Okay, are you gonna fly?" No, 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 we're gonna drive. Or you're gonna say, "Well, I have a room at Pop Century already ready to go." Okay. And she sits over dining. Well, I already have your 50th prime time and I already have this set up. And that's okay. So you've thought about this for a while. Kinda, but I wanted to kind of get your take on it, And so she's like,
That's
all right.
kind of the way it goes with the trips that the significant others aren't
Right.
on. Hey, I was thinking about, even though I've been thinking about it for 2 months,
Even though I have the trip planned already.
because my dining is done.
Well, exactly. And I can't tell the kid when we're gonna do because she told me, she's like, you probably need to tell him. That way he kind of knows heading, whatever. And I'm like, but if I tell him that we're leaving on Thursday, he will be up all night Wednesday night. Because that's what he does. So we now have to lie to our child. So I told him we're going on Friday afternoon. Like we won't go until Friday afternoon. So make sure you get some good sleep because we're not leaving till Friday afternoon, whatever. And of course, he did not have a concept of the length of time. He's used to flying. He's used to being down there an hour and a half. We get to the airport, we're on the plane. 1 hour and 22 minutes later, we're touching down at MCO. An hour later, we're at Disney. And I'm like, Campbell, this is not going to work this way this time. It's not, we're going to leave. So I outsmarted myself because my plan was, because he gets out of school at 11:30, my plan was to have everything ready. He
This
gets
is
off
so
the bus.
funny.
He gets off the bus. And I'm gonna have his lunch ready to go. I'm gonna like, let's hop on the car. Let's go to the bathroom. Whatever. Lunch is in the car. It's ready to go. It's hack lunch. We're on our way. We're leaving at 11:45. We're out the door. We're gone. And I'm like, well, what if I do this? What if I have everything ready and I go pick him up early from school? We get a good hour and a half to 2 hour head start, which means we'll get down there around 9:30. We might even have an hour at Disney Springs because, we love Disney Springs, right? The problem was I could not get everything done by the time I had to go pick him up. I had already arranged to pick him up. The bus was not going to bring him home. So I had to go get him. So
Did
at
you
10
know you were
o'clock,
going on a trip that day?
yes, I did. Thank you very much. And so I didn't get everything done because I have to work. I have a job to do too. So I'm doing work that morning. And so I go to get him, and he's like, basically looking at his face, like, why are you picking me up? And I'm like, you ready to go to Disney? Yes. And so I'm like, well, we have to go home first because I have to get the rest first. So we still didn't leave till noon. And then halfway, 2 hours down the trip, I realized I'd forgot my tennis shoes, my beloved On Clouds that were nice and soft and great park shoes. And so I forgot my tennis shoes. There are other things I forgot as well, but I didn't discover this until we started unpacking. But so we're 2 hours down the road, and I stop at a very small city's version of a Walmart. It's a very small Walmart. And I'm like, okay, well, I promised him because he's in the back seat. He's bored. He's bored. He's like, I'm just here. And I'm like, I'm Campbell. We got like 7, 8 more hours to go. So I'm like, tell you what, we're gonna go to Walmart. We'll buy you a toy. We'll buy you something, whatever, whatever it is. We'll get it. And my mind, I'm thinking, there's a pretty high amount I'm going to pay for whatever he gets because I just don't care. I need to have something. If he gets
We've all been there.
if he gets a train set and puts it together in the back seat, I don't care. I want something. So we get there. So I buy some shoes as well, and I have a decision to make because I love my Merrells. They're Merrell slip-ons. You put them on. You walk, you go, but they're walking shoes. They're just walking shoes. They're around town shoes or whatever. This is probably my 9th pair because as soon as one wears that, I'll buy another pair, right? And I'm like, I know these shoes, but these are not meant for parks. But I know these shoes.
They're not meant for anything.
Shut up. I bought some tennis shoes. Some Avias. They're brand name shoes. They're from Walmart, but they're like $28, whatever. But I'm like, do I want to wear brand new tennis shoes in the parks, or do I want to go with what I have? I just don't know. So we drive on down. We have to make a few stops for restrooms, things like that. We eat at a Cracker Barrel or whatever, and I have this dinner. So it's fun. We get there late at night, and we get there, and we kind of put everything in. The problem is, now for those people who don't know, this is really important for families, especially. The refrigerators they have there are what's called beverage coolers. They don't cool anything below 40 degrees. So if you have food, if you have drinks, if you have medications, especially, you want to keep cold, make other arrangements. Now, thankfully, I didn't have any medications for him or for me or for whatever that had to keep cold, so we're good there. But I had a couple of coolers. I had to consistently fill it up with ice. I'm at Pop Century. The first floor ice machine does not work. The second floor ice machine does not work. I walk over to the next building over. That ice machine does not work. Come back to my building, go to the third floor, find an ice machine that works. Finally found one. So I had to load up the cooler with ice. I had to do this a couple times. I had to put all the food in to make sure, because the fridge is just not cold. It's just not cold.
They're not cold. I just keep nothing in them because they're not.
And honestly, we check in, and really we had no trouble getting there. I mean, it was fine. It took a little bit longer because we had to do restroom stops, and I had to go when he didn't. He had to go when I didn't, and that kind of thing. You completely understand. You got two girls, and so we get there, we check in, and of course, around me are all the cast members that are just bubbling and happy, and they're talking to the people, and oh my gosh, you're checking in. Oh, this is so exciting. Blah blah blah. Oh, I'm so, and they're introducing themselves to the kids, whatever, and I get the one cast member that's like, "Are you checking in?" Yes, we're checking in, whatever. Okay. And I have two. I have a one night reservation, and then I have a 3-night reservation. And I'm like, we want to stay in the same room. Okay, I think we can make that happen. I'm just not saying a word. Total bedside manner.
That's not very Disney.
And he wasn't mean at all. He was very pleasant, but he wasn't like everybody else just bouncing around. And I'm like, and he's like, okay, so you have 3 nights here at Pop Century. And I'm like, let's show an upgrade us to Riviera. Did not even look up. Just. Okay, so I can keep you together. Okay, okay, should be fine. Okay, you are in building number 3, and just I'm like, all right, so
yeah, I don't like when it gets off to that start. You're like, dude, I just arrived. Like, give me a little like Disney magic, like just a little pep in the step here, bud. Like something.
Pretty much. And I asked him to. I was like, do you want to sleep in the morning, or do you want to rope drop? Do you want to get there early as soon as it opens, or do you want to sleep in? And he's laying there, and he's like, sleep in. I was like, all right, we will sleep in. I mean, this is, I've been many times on my own. I've been many times with family. I've been many times with you guys. I've done the rope drop. I've done the not rope drop, that kind of thing. I'm like, this is your call, kid. Your call. I'm going to let you do it, whatever. So Next morning we got up, we went to Animal Kingdom. I woke up and I just got on the phone and I purchased Flight of Passage. I'm like, I'm going to purchase it because if I don't, we're not going to get to ride it for a while. We had the Dash Pass, which was great. I purchased Genie Plus. I don't know that I recommend it for Animal Kingdom, but for the two of us, I'm like, I don't
I
mind
know.
paying $50 for it. It's fine. I spent a lot of money over the weekend for Genie Plus and purchasing attractions, but I just we had the income, the funds to do it for this trip, and I'm like, I just don't want to deal with the waiting and stuff if I can not wait by paying a little bit of money for this. And
I'm
so,
right there with you. I'd rather pay to not wait in lines, especially when you have kids with you.
right.
So, I mean, we probably spent an astronomical amount on it over the course of, we were in Disney for 10 days. We were in the
Mhm.
parks, like at a Disney resort for 7. So, yeah, it's a lot of money. I'm glad with the whole prepay thing coming up with this
Mhm.
multi-pass, single pass, individual lightning lane, single pass rider, whatever it's called. Um, I'm just glad to make like a purchase before the trip and then
Yes.
just be done with it.
Mhm.
Like
Yes.
we're not wondering anymore.
Mhm.
Like,
And what I've told all my clients about that is that because people have asked me about it, and I've told them what I know, but at the same time, I'm like, we know how this should work based on what we've
Mhm.
been told. We don't know how it will work until the 24th. I've got one client that's actually there during that time period. And so they check in on the 23rd. And so I'm like, all right, kind of working with them, kind of talking to them, going, hey, I'm going to help you. I'm going to be happy to help you if I can, blah, blah, blah. So we just don't know. We don't know the prices. We don't know how hard it's going to be to get things. We don't know how easy. Is the tech going to work great? We hope so. We don't know. So if your travel agent's like, I'm not sure, they're not being obstinate. They're really just telling you they're not sure. And
We
so,
just don't
yeah,
have the information yet.
right.
And what's funny is that I have a great client who was inspired by my mom and me trips and decided to do her own mom and me trip
Mhm.
and is arriving on the 24th. So she's
Awesome.
like, what do I do?
Well, see, that's
I'm
even
like,
better. They're arriving on the 24th because you don't have a park day on the 24th. You can get it that
right.
day for the rest of the trip. My client's first park day is the 24th. And I'll be like, well, okay, well, we'll figure this out together.
This together.
We'll figure it out together. So traveling, let's talk about traveling. You guys fly down, solo parenting, tips, tricks, things to avoid when you got to, a preteen and a young teenager, almost, I guess, a tween, I guess,
Tween. She likes to
tween.
be called a tween. Um, I will say that very first time I brought them, I got a very early morning flight. So I woke them up in the middle of the night, and that's
Mhm.
how they found out they were going to Disney. So I will say that I dealt with, I was stressed out. I was like excited. I was stressed. This is my first time. I'm doing this all on my own. So the fact that I got an early flight and didn't have to deal with the traffic at all
Mhm.
because I'm driving to Boston at literally like 4:30 in the morning. That took away some of the anxiety because at least if I can get to the airport and get through security and all that stuff, I'm 100 times better once I'm on the other side of security.
Right.
So getting through all of that on the earlier flights, that helps me out because I'm driving down with like no other distractions,
Mhm.
i.e. traffic, which I might despise more than anything else in the world other than laundry.
Well,
Um,
thankfully, Boston's easy to navigate and it's easy traffic. And yeah, just kidding.
have you ever been here?
I've heard the stories. I've never been there, but I've heard the stories. I've heard it's insane. Um,
It's crazy. Boston's not a grid. Fortunately, I lived in the city before, so I know it, but it's a disaster. It's a disaster actually. Um, so the early morning flights help. I believe that first trip, I should have looked this up before we did the podcast, but um I believe that first trip, I either did the motor coach or the private transportation because Sophie was still too little to just kind of Uber around.
mhm,
So, with the private transportation, they pick you up, they help you with the luggage, they have your name on a sign, like in the movies. They'll
right.
have the car seats and the boosters in the car, whatever you request at the time of booking. So that kind of like eases fears.
Mhm,
And the motor coach, of course, like kids don't have to have seatbelts or anything
right.
on that. So
Right.
I did one of those two options, I know, that trip. So I didn't have to worry about that part. Um, and then the rest of it, I mean, at that point we were still rope dropping. We have I keep saying we, it's me. I have calmed down since then.
Mhm.
And I think all these adult trips help. And the fact that we're annual pass holders, we go a lot more now.
Right.
So I don't feel the need to like rope drop every day of every trip and check off all the boxes because I know we're going to be back. So
Yeah, and I'm kind of the same way with when it comes to that. Like
I think you're the same way now too,
yeah,
right?
yeah, I've been so frequently, and definitely it's a very honored and very blessed to be able to do that. But I've
Yes,
been so frequently that
exactly.
this was his trip that I was with him. Like he could call the shots and let him kind of decide and choose what he wanted to do, that kind of thing. So we did sleep in. Now, as far as the airlines go, we do try to do like mid morning flights because early mornings are tough because again he sees us milling around. He hears us milling around. Even if he thinks we're leaving the day later, he figures it out. He's like, I see the
Oh yeah,
suitcases out,
he's
So
super smart.
well, a lot of times we'll try to pack our first thing, like we'll have everything ready, kind of tucked away, and then throw everything in the suitcase. So we'll get there, hopefully mid afternoon. We love getting there mid afternoon because we go to Disney Springs for dinner. And with somebody with a special diet, we have it mapped out. We know which restaurants we can go to, which ones we can't. Like Polite Pig has a whole lot of stuff he can eat. The chicken he can eat.
Love polite pig.
They do certain apple juices that are I think previously they've done treetop apple juice, which is organic. He does that there.
Mhm.
And so even with some of the desserts you can have. So we love Polite Pig. We always go there for dinner, and we try to get there in enough time to be able to go to Disney Springs, do a little shopping, and then get some rest because when as a family, we rope drop. Steph and I and Campbell rope drop. But Campbell was like, I'd like to sleep in. So we did sleep in a little bit. And, I got him up and I was able to get a shower and stuff like that, and he was just so tired. But also, he's to the age now where I could leave him in the room if I needed to run to the lobby or if I needed to run to the ice machine or whatever. 3 years ago, no way. He would be playing with the door. He'd be up and moving
Oh, right.
around. I would find him outside the door or something. But you tire him out, and I come back, and he's just kind of laying there, like staring up at the ceiling or playing with the remote on the TV or whatever. And so so that worked. And so our first park day, we got to Animal Kingdom. We did Animal Kingdom stuff and everything. And like I said, we did Genie and Dash Pass. We kind of wove it in and out all day long, which was
Yeah,
great.
that's great.
Of course, the big problem, and this is really just personal story, I forgot some of his medication. And so as well
Because
as
you didn't know you were going to
and
Disney.
I also forgot my toothbrush, which was not fun. And so
Don't you have a toiletry bag?
I
You're a
do.
travel agent.
I
Why
do.
don't you have a toothbrush in your
Here's what
toiletry bag?
folks, audience, this is what every travel agent will say about themselves. We are our own worst travel agent. We will make sure that your trip is a magical, perfect, beautiful, wonderful, memory making, core memory foundational trip.
Yeah,
For us, we're
forget to
like,
pack our
I
own
forgot my
toothbrush.
shoes. I forgot my shoes and my toothbrush. And so we leave Animal Kingdom and we go to CVS because we have prescriptions with CVS. And I spent 30 minutes there because the guy's looking up the prescription, and I'm like, we just need enough of this particular thing that he has prescription for like 3 days. That's all we need is like 3 days. Just give us the pills we need, whatever. And he was like, well, we don't have them here, blah, 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 whatever, whatever. But, there's another CVS about 2 miles down the road. I'm like, can you call them? Because I don't want to get down there and do all of this again. So he calls down there and he was like, yep, they got him. So we hop in the car and go to CVS down the road. And the pharmacist is like, she's looking at it and she goes, okay. She said, you don't have a prescription refill right now. I was like, we don't. I was like, I don't know how this works. We just need it for like a couple of days. And legally, she's not able to give it to me, which totally makes sense. But
Oh.
she goes, I wish that he had told you this down there at the other CVS, or I wish he had told me this on the phone because I could have told him to tell you, don't come. We can't fill it. So
He
I'm
had
like, well,
one job.
one job, but thankfully it was like I forget what pill it was, whatever. It wasn't something like heart medication or anything serious like that. Something we could do without. I just texted my wife. I was like, he's not gonna get it for 3 days. Whatever happens, happens. I'll deal with it. Sorry. So we went to Whole Foods. We gathered some groceries. I had forgotten a couple, like one of his juices. I forgot some juice. So I had to get the juice and I had to get whatever, and spent like $30 in, to get things at Whole Foods, and got myself a toothbrush, which is really nice. It's like organic wood, whatever. It's really good. Anyway, so we got
Organic. I like
organic,
it.
right? I know my teeth are all natural. So pay like $7
And
for
that
a toothbrush.
does happen, right? Like
Yeah.
we do forget things, and I'm sure
Mhm.
clients forget things. But what I always forget, and like my mom was the same way. My dad
Mhm.
always used to tell her, like, they have grocery stores in Florida.
They do.
Like,
They do. Hot tip. Hot tip.
right?
If you have a car, there is a Whole Foods and a Target and a Walmart literally within 3 miles of property. It's Publix is right there. There's grocery stores everywhere. There's gas stations everywhere. If you just need something quick, go to a 7-Eleven and grab some medicine or whatever. It's
Even
all
if
right
you
there.
don't have a car, the
I was gonna say you can
resort
Uber
stores
and Uber.
themselves
That's true.
have a ton of stuff.
Yes.
And if they don't have what you're looking for, we can send Emily, our
Yes.
lovely good friend in
Bluebird
Croatia,
Gifting
as a delivery
Company,
service.
bluebirdgiftco.com, I believe. You can find her stuff. Just she's amazing. But yeah,
She'll
you
go
can
pick up anything, and
but
she's the best.
we have Ubered many times to Whole Foods, worked that into our afternoons. I've Ubered to Whole Foods, did our shopping list real quick, Ubered right back. It's like $50 total there and back because it's right there. So if we get something, it's easy to find. Like you said, there's always a wall of toiletries and sundries, as they call right there.
Sundries, yes.
Sundries, yes. And even Disney Springs, they have a little sundry shop. As you're walking toward the bus stop, there is a little store right there full of sundries and full of like everything from ponchos to medicines to Band-Aids, whatever, which, by the way, I needed some because I started getting blisters on my feet 2 days in because I forgot my tennis shoes, right? And so,
That's when you need my little pouch that I bring to the parks with me that has what? Band-Aids, Tums, Advil, Excedrin, lip gloss, and my glitter drink powder.
but here's the thing, Kyla. You weren't there.
But that should teach you that you should always have like a little park pouch of essentials.
Yes. You are correct.
Yes, Mom.
Yes, Mom. Whatever you say. So that was our Friday. You guys don't rope drop. Do you stay till the park closes? Do you like close the park out every night?
So that trip we did, and as they've got older, and we've actually we started park hopping maybe like 3 years ago when we realized they could actually handle it. So that first trip I was at Art of Animation. The next trip I was at the Fort Wilderness Cabins, and that's when I realized that I didn't have to rope drop to the fireworks.
Right.
And we kind of did our own thing. We spent a whole day at the resort just doing the arts and crafts. Like we designed our own tumblers at the station where you kind of like check in for all your activities. I took a nap, which is like strange because I'm always like go in Disney. And then our next park day, we kind of did our thing. And actually Emily, our Bluebird girl, came over with the girls and did the campfire with Chip and Dale. And so I was a little bit more relaxed on that trip. This trip last year, we did have a plan to rope drop because we have now created a tradition of having breakfast in France. So
Nice.
crepes and mimosas, not for the girls. I have the mimosa. They have oysters.
Something to take the edge off.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Mom, it's 7:30. Shut up.
Bella did question me 2 weeks ago and was like, a little early, huh? And I'm like, whatever. I'm on vacation.
She's getting to that age now where she can start questioning, Mom, it's early. That's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Putting orange juice in it. It's fine. So yeah, like last year we were at Yacht Club, so we just walked over and we did the rope drop so we could do like a whole France morning. The girls wanted to do like a whole morning in France, like ratatouille and crepes and the Beauty and the Beast sing along and like all the things. Last year we did not stay till the fireworks. It was I don't know if you remember last August, but it was hot as lava in Florida, maybe like the hottest I have ever felt in Florida. And I usually deal with the heat pretty well. Last August, for whatever reason, I don't know. I think the sun melted directly onto the Yacht Club resort. And it was just like,
I think it's like that now, honestly. I'm hearing it's extremely hot now.
It was. The day we left was Sunday the 7th, and it was 108 degrees with humidity. It was really insane. Yeah. So last year we came back to the Yacht Club pool, and this was something I had never done before, and we've never done with Frank. We came back at like probably maybe 8:30, and we changed into our bathing suits, and then we watched the fireworks from the Yacht and Beach Club pirate ship water slide pool. You know, like you go over there, there's like a little pool at the bottom of the part where you climb up to the water slide. It sounds very confusing, but like, you know what I'm talking about. So we sat in that little pool and we watched the fireworks from that pool, and it was a fantastic experience. And I felt like no stress. We're not dealing with crowds. Like Bella doesn't deal well with super loud noises anyway. So being in a park during the fireworks, she gets a little anxious. So being like outside of the park area, just we all deal so much better with that.
Mhm.
So that was really fun, and one of those moments that I'll remember because it's not something we usually do. Like we don't usually go swimming after a full park day because you're usually exhausted.
Right.
But that time we went back to the room and I was like, "We're swimming. We're swimming. we're putting our bathing suits on right now. We're like diving into that pool." So that was really fun. So yeah,
Mhm.
like last year was the first year I hadn't really rope dropped to the fireworks with them. And this year we'll see.
Nice. We did some breaks too because it was hot. It was really hot, and he was not used to walking that
Yeah.
much. And I kept telling him, I kept stressing to him, hey, let me know when you're tired, and we will do something else. Otherwise, we're gonna walk. And I kept asking him, and he's like, fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. We take water breaks every 20 minutes. I'd make him drink some water because it's hot,
He did so
and so
great.
and so we drank lots and lots and lots of water. And so one of the things too, I guess for me, picking the resort was really important too because we wanted to find a resort that that had the ability to move around. I guess for us, Pop Century has the Skyliner. He loves the Skyliner. I love the Skyliner, so it was easy to go back and forth or whatever. Do you pick the resorts based on your girls? I mean, or do you just pick one you want to go to and just that's it? I mean, do you consider the girls when you pick your resorts?
Yes. So on the mom and me trips, I picked based on location.
Hmm.
So the Art of Animation that first year, like they love Epcot and Hollywood Studios.
Right.
That's always like top of the list. And Sophie loves Magic Kingdom. So Art of Animation was an easy pick because of the Skyliner, like
Hmm.
yourself. The Fort Wilderness Cabins, they had always thought it was really cool. We went there once to check out the horses, and they were like, "What is this place?" Like this
Right.
campground. Because we've camped here in New Hampshire, and like they had a great time, and I was like, yeah, there's actually a Disney campground. So I picked the cabins because I had never stayed in the cabins before.
Mhm.
I've camped at Fort Wilderness before, but I had never stayed in the cabins. I thought they'd think it was really cool, the whole nostalgic feel of it for me, because that's where we spent the first few trips, like growing up with me
Mhm.
and my brother and my parents. So that was more of like a something for everyone type thing.
Right. Right.
um Yacht Club last year, again, they both love Epcot and Hollywood, and it's
Epcot's right there. That helps.
yes, like a
Mhm.
5-minute walk, and it's easier when it's just me and them to not deal with transportation. So to pay a little bit more, but just have to walk 2 of our park days, or boat,
Right.
whatever.
Right.
But we prefer to walk. I took that in a minute.
Mhm. I think I
So
will. I will likely always do a Pop Century with him because the Skyliner is there and it's a value resort. And I think that's important too to remember how much you want to get around because the All Stars are great and they're cheap, they're easy, perfect for a parent and a kid. However, you're taking buses everywhere, and just know depending on when you
yeah,
go, that's where the cheerleaders go, that's where the foreign groups go. So you may be trying to put your 7-year-old to bed at 10 o'clock at night, and suddenly there's cheering outside because there's a big group of girls or boys or whatever
yes,
outside, yelling and screaming. Pop doesn't really have a lot of that. You could go somewhere like Port Orleans or French Quarter, which is great, but unless you're going to spend a lot of time at Disney Springs with your kid, you're taking buses everywhere because the boat only goes to Disney Springs. And if you do want to splurge a little bit, the Epcot resorts are great. The Magic Kingdom resorts are great because you have the monorail there. So I think where you go and where you go with your kid on a solo trip is definitely important versus just as a parent or as an adult or whatever, or a whole family trip, because I'll stay anywhere. I don't care. But I'm with Steph, we went to Contemporary or we'll stay at Riverside. We've got a Riverside trip coming up as an adult trip coming in December because there's
yep.
no kids. So I think definitely pay attention to the resort you're going to go to. And there was one day we did the boat, we did the monorail, we did the Skyliner, and we did an Uber. So and the bus. So we took 5 forms of transportation in one day.
It must be a guy thing because you and my dad, Richard,
Mhm.
and Frank love trying to do multiple modes of transportation in one day.
Well, it's not
Like,
just that. He loves it too. That's the main thing. I love the
right,
Skyliner. Buses
right.
are fine. Boats are fine. I love the Skyliner and the monorail. And he's like, in his mind, he was checking it off. He was like, monorail, boat, bus. And Uber, we had to do an Uber because we were going around to dinner, stuff like that. I didn't want to drive. But in his mind, it was like, let's just, we got to knock these
It's
things off. Check, 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 check.
it's got to be like
So,
some guy thing because we went to Grand Floridian on this last family trip. We went to Grand Floridian
mhm.
Cafe, and Frank's like, okay, how can we get back to the boardwalk? And I'm like, we just monorail to the Magic Kingdom and then wait for the boardwalk bus. And he's like, what if we take the first bus that
Mhm.
shows up and then figure it out? And I'm like, okay. So the first bus that showed up was Riviera, fortunately, because we just stopped at Riviera, got the girls some gelato, and then
Right.
took the Skyliner back to Epcot and then walked to Boardwalk. But it's got to be a guy thing because you're constantly thinking of like transportation and it's super fun and Moses transportation. While my girls are just like, where are we going now? Like, why are we doing the boat to the, and they're just constantly like questioning. And I'm like, just follow dad. Like he knows what he's doing.
Right.
Or like again, my dad loves doing that too. He'll do like the bus to the monorail to the boat to the bus to the Riviera. And I'm like, what? Like, okay, you know what? You do you. Like YOLO.
YOLO, man. Do whatever. Do whatever. So we ended up like we had a dining reservation on our Magic Kingdom day. It was like in the evening. Maybe it was the Plaza.
Where'd you
I don't
go?
remember where it was. I don't remember where it was because it didn't matter because we didn't get there. And
Oh.
so halfway through the like somewhere in the trip, he wants to do the monorail in the middle of the afternoon, and it's hot. And I'm like, that's the plan anyways. We're gonna get the monorail. We're gonna go to the resorts. We're gonna zoop around, maybe 1 or 2 loops, just to kind of relax, get back in the park, go to our dinner. Where was it? I don't even remember where it was.
Did you go to Skipper?
We did go to we did Skipper for you know what, I'm trying to put everything together. So we hit the monorail, Skipper's Canteen, that's what it was. We did go to it, but it was later. We had something at like 5 o'clock, and it's like 3:30. We're on the monorail, and I'm like, we're gonna make a couple loops around, but of course he wanted to get off on each resort. And so we got off
Like
temporary,
what I
walked
do.
around. Exactly. We got back on. And at the Polynesia, I'm like, well, Campbell, if we're going to do Skippers, we have to go. We have to keep going. And so the thing stopped at the Polynesian. He's like, get off, Polynesian. Campbell, do you want to get off and look around? Yes. So we got off. He called the shots. And so I went online real quick and I backed up Skippers a little bit, to later on. The thing was, and we had this problem at 50s, is he's hungry, but he's tired. And when he gets really tired, his hunger goes away. And so we got chicken for him at Skipper's. He didn't eat a whole lot of it. We got a hamburger for him at Sci-Fi, which they make like a gluten-free bun.
Yes.
They make like they're great. They're wonderful with dietary
I
restrictions.
know you always speak so highly of Sci-Fi.
So great. He loves it. It's one of his favorites, but he was tired, so he ate basically around the rim of the hamburger, like one circumference around the hamburger, and that was it. And Steph told me later, she was like, you should have gotten him a kid's burger. That's all he needed. I was like, I wasn't thinking. That's why it cost me $23 for him to have like 9 bites of a hamburger. And that's it. So, so the dining was fine. I mean, we worked it out, whatever. We did Epcot for the whole day. We actually took the boat around. We took the Skyliner to the resorts, kind of got around, got out a little bit, and the final day we went to Magic Kingdom for just a little while, rode like People Mover and like Buzz Lightyear, just 2 things, whatever the Dash Pass for. We left about halfway through the day. And we actually had breakfast at Wilderness Lodge at Artist Point.
Whispering
Canyon. I couldn't say it. Whispering Canyon.
Oh, those platters are so good.
So Whispering Canyon, and I know this episode is going to run long here, so kind of condense this down. This is important because he got the gluten-free waffles, which he loves the waffles, but all they had was just regular sugar-free syrup, not just sugar-free syrup. So they brought up like Mrs. Butterworth or something sugar-free syrup, and I'm like, this is not what we wanted him to have. But right now he's seen this. He's seen the syrup. He's got the waffle. He's like, I'm gonna have me some, so I can't stop him. I'm like,
What do you usually do for syrup?
Usually there's like a maple syrup that you can ask for. A lot of times they'll have that. And I didn't know to ask for. I didn't think about asking for it. They have a different kind of like a syrup, whatever. Anyway, so I was told later by my lovely wife, this is what you should have done. Thank you, dear. Thank you. So this will come
now you'll
back
know
later.
next time.
So we have breakfast. We go to the Magic Kingdom. We have a good time. We leave. We're gonna go over to the I want to go to the outlets. I want to stop by the outlets, to the Disney outlet. I haven't been in years. I just want to go in there and see, what's in there for cheap, and so we don't leave the park until like 2:00. I mean, it's later on in the afternoon. My intention was to leave at 12 or 1, be at the outlet, get done by 2. We're leaving the park at 2. We're leaving resort at 2. So we get over there about 3:00, and I'm like, we're running so late, but we're here. Let's just do it, right? So we go in. There's a line to get in, and I will tell you that it is madness in there. They let too many people in at one time. And it's just wall-to-wall people. My kid is looking at me going, what are we doing here? Holy crap. And and I found a few things for cheap. I found like a little Figment statue, and I found whatever. But the one thing I'm noticing, because by this time, my feet are so blistered. They are so sore and blistered. I got socks on. I got my Merrells
you
on.
got Crocs.
My shoes, my shoes are horrible. And I'm like, I'm gonna buy some shoes at the Disney place. I'm gonna buy some shoes. I'm gonna buy some sandals, some flip flops, or something. I'm gonna buy something because my feet are just I can't. I don't want to drive barefoot, but I can't wear these shoes and these socks home. I have to do something because my feet are like bandaged and they're blistered. It's hard to walk. The only thing they have in there are Crocs.
Killing me,
All
David. You're
they have.
killing me.
All they have was Christmas Crocs.
Stop it. You don't even have them
Christmas
on,
Crocs.
do you?
Chris, I don't have them on actually, but Chris, you can't really see here. But Christmas Crocs and
Oh my God.
they have it. They have Christmas.
We have joked about you wearing Crocs for so long when you never actually have.
I
and
never
now
wore them.
I-
Yeah, you know what? I had to, and actually I haven't worn them since. I kind of put them up, but I think I'll wear it at Christmas time for the Christmas party for Jollywood, which will be exciting.
Oh my God.
But like,
Yeah.
I pulled my socks off, my shoes off, and I put these on, and I was like, my feet can breathe. And so, of course, on the way home, he's not feeling good, likely due to the fact he just had a whole lot of sugar-free syrup that morning. And so, he doesn't feel good. We have to stop at a couple of gas stations for him to kind of, a little bit here and there. Only once, by the way. But I mean, what do you do as a parent? You're like, I'm 6 hours from home. There's nothing I can do. I just, whatever. I don't know.
Gotta go.
But we made it home, and I will tell you, we made it home about midnight, and he had school the next day. And I said, Campbell, do you want to go to school tomorrow? What do you want to do? And he goes, sleep, just like that, sleep in, sleep. And so I texted the teacher, sent her an email. I'm like, hey, we're not going to be at school tomorrow. And so he slept till 10 o'clock next morning. It was good. It was awesome. So
Good for
so that's our saga. That's our saga of all of that. There's much more I could give, but like I said, we're running into a long show here. But any final tips as a solo parent? You taking the girls, one young, one is a tween. Any tips for people out there that are thinking about taking their own kid trip?
I will say that I think you have to go in with an open mind. Each of the girls' trips have been a surprise for them. So I have done the planning before we get there of like which parks, the dining reservations. So those are the only things that were planned, like
Right.
the resort, which parks, what are, obviously that determines what your dining is. So I have picked those things. Everything else is really just like an open mind, being flexible. Because if
Yes.
nothing else, I've learned how to be flexible in the
Right.
last couple of years.
Right.
And just kind of letting them have fun and being a little less like on them. Like,
Right.
like one of the nights last year, like I said, we came back one night and went swimming. Another night, I let them stay up late to watch, like, they are like obsessed with the safety cartoons. Do you know what I'm talking about? With
I have no
Timba
idea.
and Simone.
Oh yeah.
No, I said that the wrong way. Did I say
Pumbaa and Timon.
stay up late, like watching these videos? And I let them eat Cheetos in bed.
Mhm.
So they were like, this is great. Like, dad would never let us do that. And we stayed up late, like making glow in the dark, like glasses and
Mhm.
bracelets and like all this stuff and took funny photos. So it's much more of a relaxed trip, way less planning than like the big family trips. So that I think makes it a lot more fun because
Right.
it's just you and them. The one-on-one time is great. And we have a lot of fun where there's like a lot of joking. They do really well in the heat, shockingly enough. So I do remember the day we were leaving Magic Kingdom last year, we were walking through the Emporium and I was like, you know what, guys, you did a really great job today. You can pick out like a little something in the Emporium. And I think they were both shocked because we're usually like, don't ask for anything.
Right.
Like if you ask for something,
Right.
it's automatically going to be a no. Like let the day have some surprises in it. Like let us, pick out things or whatever. You just can't have whatever you want whenever you want it. So they were just like shocked that I was like, oh my God, mom said that we could pick something out at Emporium. And, I see Sophie like beelining for like the $200 castle. And I'm like, Sophie, I'm like a small something,
You missed
like
the words within reason.
right? Under $15 or $20 or whatever it was.
Combined.
So it's like fun little moments like that they don't expect that make the trip like really fun and not to be so cheesy, but very magical. You just need to let those moments happen so that you have some magic as part of your trip.
This was one of the best trips I'd ever had because it really was like he and I hanging out together for the whole weekend. I mean, out of the house, not just hanging out at the house and going out to Walmart or Target or touring the city. I mean, we're actually in another state at Disney World. It is one of those things, like you said, be flexible, be very flexible with what's going on. I let him call the shots within reason, obviously, and I just watched him how how good he was in terms of, staying in line, which was good. He got out of line here and there, but mostly he was in line. He did great there. And I was watching him too. There was once or twice because I always had an eye on him, but I was interested to find out how he would do with large crowds, not in the stroller. He's walking around. He doesn't have a device. He doesn't have an iPod or iPad or anything on him. And there was once or twice when he lost sight of me. I could still see him, but he lost sight of me. I could tell. And he would stop and he would look around like, I'm looking to see where my dad is. And he wouldn't run, which was one thing we were worried about. Would he dart? And he didn't. He would just stand there and kind of look around. I would give it like 5 seconds and then, go find him. I wouldn't, make him scared or whatever, but he did super well. But yeah, especially with special needs kids, know your limitations, take breaks. Even if this is like you and I have been many, many times, so it was easy to give up certain things because we'll just do it next time, right? Sometimes parents are like, well, I don't get to come back. Yes, but you have to know why you're there. Maybe you won't get to do everything because you're with the kid and maybe the kid can't do certain things or you don't want them to do whatever, but know your limitations, but don't be afraid to stretch a little bit to find out, is this going to work? And communicate a lot, communicate with your kids a lot, especially with my type kids and, and just let them have a good time. And the magic is definitely there. I mean, we just, like I said, it was one of the best trips I've ever had. And, I forgot my magic band. I completely forgot my magic band. And one great moment, we were in Disney Springs and I was looking at magic bands and I had been looking at them already and I hadn't really found anything I liked. Like the designs, they're not great. And he just picked up one, handed it to me and it said Dad on it, Disney Dad. And I was like,
That's awesome.
It was like, this one you want me to have? He goes, Dad. I was like, should I wear this? He goes, yes. Like, what are you doing? I mean, why are you not wearing this magic? So I'm like, guess I'm gonna spend $45 on a magic band. And I did. I promised him we'd go to the Lego store. We did. He bought him a little sailboat, which we didn't put together till we got home. But, he held it like we bought him that toy at Walmart. He just held it in his lap the entire trip. Didn't open it or anything, just held onto it. So, don't pay attention to your kids and just have a good time. And yeah. And Kyla and I are both agents. We're both happy to help you walk you through these trips as well, especially with all the changes that are coming up with multi-lightning lane, pass individual lane, Genie plus Ka-chow things. All those things are happening. We got you. We got you.
We should call them Ka-chow passes and really screw everybody up. Did you get your Ka-chow pass for Epcot?
Or did you get your
totally serious?
Did you get your multi-pass? Ka-chow. So, yeah. Kyla, where can people find you online?
You can find me at Disney Geek 27 on Instagram and Threads, although my Threads is not
hanging on by a string.
Yeah, hanging on by a
thread.
And you can also find me at Kyla Melberg travel agent at Upon a Star Travel on Facebook.
Perfect. You can find me on Instagram at The Magic on $1. Find me on Facebook at Magic on $1 and Disney on $1. Those are my 2 pages. I have not I'm on Threads, but it doesn't matter. I need to set that little thing up where I post on Instagram. It goes to Threads immediately, but I keep forgetting to do that.
That's what I did.
That's what I need to do. And then be like, hey guys, Disney moms,
it makes you seem like slightly more active if you just link it all together.
Yeah, I need to do that. It's just, it's complicated.
It's another thing. It's another thing to put on your sticky note in the morning.
Right. I mean, I barely got my MySpace page going, but I'll get there eventually at some point. But can't wait to tell Jen about the Crocs. So anyway, Jen will be back next week. We'll have a good time. Follow her at Upon a Star Jen on Instagram. And of course, Jen_Novotny is her personal. And find her at Jenn Novotny, Upon a Star, something on it. You can find her on Facebook. She's on Facebook. Just look for her, Upon a Star Travels, where you find all our stuff as well. So Kyla, thank you for joining me for this great little conversation.
Thank you. This was fun. I love these trips. So I always like chatting about them.
As always, maybe you can call in from your mom and me trip at Disney World. Call in and be like, hey guys, everything I said it's wrong because it's awful right now. It's terrible because my 11-year-old thinks she's 20 and it's awful.
Well, aside from that, we are going to have some friends with us this next month. So the dynamic's going to be a little different than usual. Better. So I'll see how that goes.
Even better. For Jen, off of the Utopia. For Kyla, hey, I'm Dave. Don't forget to thank your Phoenicians.
Thank you for listening to the Main Street Electrical Podcast. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at the MSE Podcast, or visit our website at themsepodcast.com. Be sure to subscribe, and may all your wishes come true.